You can't get there from here. That's an old Yankee joke. Well, it turns out you actually probably can if you go by air and land on the water. This week, I'll camp along Moosehead Lake and attend the annual Seaplane Fly-In. Plus, I'll tell you about the resource that made Maine what it is today in this week's Campgrounds with the Yankee Camper, Lily Bay State Park. Moosehead Lake in Maine is the largest body of water entirely in New England. Lake Champlain is much bigger, but it spans two states and two nations. Plus, I did part of it on my DAR campground video in July. I've been camping along the shore of the big lake in the Maine woods for more than 40 years. I even spent some time backcountry tenting in what is now Cowan's Cove tent sites, long before they were identified on any map. But I'm here to talk about a campground with real amenities, such as showers and flush toilets. I'll get to those in a few minutes. Nestled 9 miles north of the town of Greenville, at the southern tip of Moosehead, is Lily Bay State Park Campground. It offers 90 dry camping sites with two loops, Rowell Cove and Dunn Point. While none are listed as such, there are some campsites which offer water views and a few with direct water access. The main road is paved through the major area. The campsite loops are gravel, but very well maintained. The sites were level and roomy. I selected one identified as small, and I had plenty of room. The campsites range from a tent size to being able to accommodate a camper over 35 feet. Each is equipped with a fireplace and picnic table, as one might expect. Driving through either of the two loops, the sites are set up to give a rustic feel with plenty of space between each of the adjoining areas. These felt very much like getting back to the basics of camping. The park itself covers 900 acres and was donated to the state in 1961 by the Scott Paper Company to protect the natural beauty of the surrounding area and give access to the water for recreation. The camping season runs from May through October. Reservations can be made at the Maine Department of Agricultural and Forestry website. This is a very popular location to camp. The booking window opens on Monday, February 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're thinking about a date during a holiday weekend, I'd set a calendar reminder for February 2nd. To stay 3 nights in September, I was charged $113.10. That breaks down to $30 per night plus a $15 non-refundable reservation fee and $8.10 in tax. I thought the cost was reasonable, especially given that a room in a hotel would have cost that or more for a single night. And this is the normal rate with no extra surcharge, despite the fact that I was visiting during one of the highlight events of the year, the 4-day International Seaplane Fly-In. For those of you who don't know, I'm a licensed private pilot, and although this channel is about camping and not flying, the two aren't always mutually exclusive. I even wrote a book about my experience learning to fly. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Anyway, while working on getting my private pilot certificate back in 2016, I had expressed interest that I always wanted to attend the Seaplane Fly-In at Moosehead Lake to my partner. For Christmas that year, she gifted me an all-expense trip to the event, which takes place annually the weekend following Labor Day. I can tell you that was the longest 8 months waiting to be able to attend. This year, I wanted to share that experience with you. The event takes place from Thursday through Sunday with several events planned. 2025 was the 51st year, with a rich history of sharing the love of operating these watercraft with the general public. The hangar at the ramp is converted into a market where spectators and participants can learn about the whole field of seaplane operations and get some aviation themed swag or purchase a souvenir. The whole town gets involved, including a craft market called the Flyby near the dock and a pig roast sponsored by the Moosehead Riders Snowmobile Club. The official sponsors of the event is the Seaplane Pilots Association, who hold a lobster and steak dinner on Friday night and an awards banquet on Saturday. Several contests are held, including a poker run on Friday, where pilots fly to 7 specified destinations, unknown prior to registration, and they receive a playing card. The person with the best poker hand of 5 cards wins. On Saturday, the Cove hosts a parade of the seaplane participants. This will often have large commuter planes and small light sport, but is made up primarily of the high-winged workhorses that bring mail, supplies, and visitors to the more remote regions of the area. There's also a shortest and quickest off the water in a bracketed head-to-head competition, but I think the highlight and most entertaining is the Bush Pilot Canoe Race. Here is a timed team contest where one person places the canoe in the water and the clock starts. The paddler departs the dock toward the platform in the center of the cove. Then, the pilot unties the plane, starts the engine, and heads out to a buoy. Once around the marker, the seaplane then heads to the platform. When the canoeist arrives, the watercraft is pulled from the water and lashed to one of the seaplane pontoons. Both participants get into the plane and round the second buoy before returning to the dock. The canoe must be completely removed from the seaplane and set on the dock to stop the clock. The team with the quickest time wins. It's a little like paddlecraft meets rodeo, with the steeds having somewhere between 180 and 300 horsepower. And this is the only place in the world where you can see it. This year, the canoe race was able to be completed before the rains came in and postponed the rest of the competitions until Sunday. The International Seaplane Fly-In is one of only 2 major splashings in the area, the other being at Lake Winnipesaukee in October. Maybe I'll visit that next year. I recommend this event to anyone who wants to have a more unique experience, and this, according to their estimation, is one of the oldest and largest seaplane events in the world. Now, you know. Let's get back to the amenities at the campground. I hope you're enjoying this video, and thank you for watching, but I don't get any compensation for this. However, if you'd like, you could buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put the link in the description down below. Thank you. Okay, let's start with the fact that the restrooms closest to the campsites are latrine-type vault toilets. There, I said it to get it out of the way. There's also flush toilets available, but I'll get to those in a moment. These outhouses are what they are. Not luxury by any stretch, but functional and a convenient distance to any campsite. I counted 9 areas with several stations each. This doesn't include non-camping areas like the boat ramp. The units nearest to me were clean and functional with plenty of toilet paper and hand sanitizer. As I mentioned, there's also a central comfort station with flush toilets in each of the shower rooms. These are large enough that they're ADA compliant. So kudos to the designers in ensuring that everybody has plenty of room to maneuver and keep clothes dry. I'd also like to point out that there was plenty of available parking, since the building itself is quite a distance from many of the campsites. This location is also where the dishwashing station is located. The counter has two dual basin sinks with hot and cold running water. Someone had kindly left some dishwashing soap, but I wouldn't count that that will always be the case. Note the counter space was limited. Mounted on the wall next to the sink pedestal was a small library. There were some newspapers dated from several days prior, so I took the oldest to help keep my fire going. Like the vault toilets, freshwater spigots are distributed throughout the campground as well. I like the fact that the faucet will remain on without holding it. I understand the self-closing faucets are designed to conserve water, but when dealing with a heavy water supply container, such as 2.5 gallons or more, having a free hand can help assure the liquid actually doesn't spill, wasting the water that the faucet is supposed to conserve. Firewood and ice are both available at the ranger station, although I purchased mine at the local grocery store in Greenville. Disposal is by way of an area in each of the two loops. There's a bin for returnable bottles as well as recycling cardboard. The dumpster was emptied when I was leaving on Monday morning, but it had surpassed capacity by Sunday afternoon, which I was a bit disappointed in. For RVs, access to the dump station is on the road across from access to the comfort station. This was basic, but it appeared to meet the necessary requirements. I don't use them, so leave a comment if you see something about this function that I may have missed. And speaking of RVs, the website states that generators are restricted to 2 hours of use in the morning and evening. I appreciate that as a tenter. At a different campground, not Lily Bay, I had a neighbor who ran their generator for over 7 hours. Can you hear that? That generator has been running since 3:15 this afternoon. Well past quiet time. It was incredibly annoying and distracting. As I move into what's available to do in the area, let me start by talking about the Lumberman's Museum in Greenville. Hang around, and I'll show you the things I saw. Before the Civil War, this region of Maine had two industries: lumbering and moving the lumber to market, primarily by steam. Timber work began to increase about when Maine gained its statehood in 1820. By 1832, Bangor was the world's largest lumber shipping port. During its heyday through 1880, Maine shipped an estimated 8.5 billion board feet of planking. That's enough to build more than 500,000 homes. The men who felled the trees, moved the logs, and cut the wood were known as lumberjacks or loggers. These were tough individuals who worked in some pretty harsh conditions, and I have nothing but respect for their abilities. Their efforts literally helped build America. You see, most logging took place in the winter months because the logs moved over frozen ground in snow much easier. The bulls were stacked along the riverbank to be later sent to sawmills. When the spring thaw came and the rivers were rushing, the logs would be rolled into the river and sent downstream. Drivers would balance on the rushing wood to keep them from bunching by using extended pikes, but sometimes the long trunks would turn sideways and create a log jam, a term we still use today when systems get clogged up. To clear the blockage, additional drivers would be in a bateau boat to assist. These long, narrow, flat-bottomed vessels worked well for threading their way through the torrent of timber and white water to get to the bunched log entanglement. The bateau also worked for transportation to the camp of personnel, such as cooks and supplies, from a base camp or supply town like Coccajo. now a jumping off point for access to the northern woods. The tools of the trade were initially axes that gave way to heavy duty saws, usually working in a two-person team. As technology advanced, so did the tools to items such as gas-powered chainsaw. After a hard day's work, the lumbermen would relax near the fire and tell tales of great feats that they'd heard of. Some were even attributed to the greatest lumberjack of all, Paul Bunyan. What's that you say? Not a New Englander? I can prove that the supersized hero is Yankee born. Bangor holds his birth certificate. The museum in Greenville isn't very large, but it's a wonderful introduction into what it was like for the workers who spent their winters felling trees for a lumber hungry nation. Timber business hasn't always been the resource conscious industry that it is these days. Fire, however, was always a concern, and slash from the stripped trunks would dry and become the perfect tinder for a forest fire. Just after the turn of the 20th century, a forest engineer for the M.G. Shaw Lumber Company had climbed Big Moose Mountain and could easily see the smoke rising from the stacks about 26 miles away, and had a view in all directions. He convinced his boss that a tower built atop that location would allow one man to perform the work of 100 by spotting and reporting fires before they became out of control. In 1905, the first mountain fire tower was built at that very location. It's now located at the Moosehead Lake Regional Visitor Center, and you can climb it to get an incredible view of the area. You can also tour the recreated warden's cabin at the base, displaying artifacts to show what it was like living where you worked. You see, this working from home isn't a new concept, it's just repackaged. In 1944, the U.S. Forest Service adopted a mascot to raise public awareness of the dangers of unplanned human conflagration, such as campfires insufficiently extinguished. Remember, only you can prevent wildfires. Now you know. Let's wrap up with what you can do while in the southern Maine highlands. Obviously, a major draw is being along the shore of Moosehead Lake. There's two boat ramps, with each loop having one. Neither seems to have any particular advantage over the other. This allows both motorboats and paddlecraft entry onto the lake, with plenty of parking at both locations, although I'm not sure how it would be during the height of the summer season. A beach is located past the Dunn Point Loop. Here is the day use area, which all campers have available to them. There's a very nice pine grove with picnic tables and charcoal grill stands. All of this overlooks a beautiful view of the water. The beach is clean and wide, although swimming is at your own risk as there's no lifeguard on it. Pets are also prohibited from the beach. This dog annoyed me for being left unattended until I realized it wasn't a dog at all and wasn't going to bother anyone aside from deterring the winged pooping machines. On the opposite side of the grove is a well-maintained children's play area. It provides the expected climbing up opportunities, as well as hanging and proceeding hand over hand. Of course, there's also the option to slide back down. Swinging is offered, with a view providing 4 full-size swings for bigger kids and 2 toddler bucket-style swings. There's also a couple of benches close by for parents or grandparents to sit and keep watch. Additionally, this area serves as the trailhead for several casual nature trails through the park. Downtown Greenville also has a nice little park with interesting sculptures. And if you'd like to get out on the water, but didn't bring a boat, consider the Katahdin. It's the last operating steamship that once served both the tourism and lumbering industries in the North Woods. During the summer through mid-fall, it runs on Tuesday through Saturday, sometimes making several trips per day. The town also has a museum and historic house where you can learn more about the history of tourism in the region. Like the Lumberman's Museum, these are run by the Moosehead Historical Society. Although pre-registered camping is only in the warmer weather, the park itself is open year-round for winter activity such as cross-country skiing and snowmobiling. Camping is allowed, but no amenities are available and you're expected to be self-contained. See the park's website for winter restrictions and fees. If you've never been up north, Moosehead Lake is a great place to set a destination for, and Lily Bay Campground is there to accommodate. If you got something out of this video, please take a moment to give it a like. If you haven't done so already, now would be a great time to click the subscribe button to be notified of new content every week. And feel free to reach out through the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Next week, I'll be making a mess by cooking up fried shredded wheat. Until then, get outside, and thank you for watching.